Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to tell you everything you need to know about boats in Valheim. I actually thought that sailing in Valheim was kind of scary at the beginning, also because I'm a little bit afraid of the ocean and I'd rather not know what's in there, but after doing it for a little bit and overcoming my seasickness in the video game, I actually found it quite interesting. Since you can't technically fly in this game, having a boat and of course using portals are the only ways of getting around the world. Now the world is pretty large and there is quite a lot of water, so it's definitely good to know what to use which boat for. Now we're going to talk about all three boats that are in the game. The first one is the Raft, which is this one. You can make it really early in the game and you don't need a lot of stuff for it. Then you have the Carve, which is the middle size, which is actually my favorite, although it doesn't have a lot of storage. And then it is the long ship. Now this is by far the fastest and it also has the most storage. Now we're going to go through all of these and I'll tell you what you need to know. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you can see when I upload videos, and give this video a like if you thought it was useful. The first thing you need to know about boats in Valheim is how to use them. To use them, you use the rudder. Only one person can steer them at a time, and to go forward or backwards is the same keys as when you're going backwards and forwards on your character. So for me it would be W for forward and S for backwards. Steering is quite counterintuitive. This took me a little while to figure out, and especially on low speeds it can be a little bit irritating. It's not so bad on the long ship, but on the Raft it is almost completely impossible. When it comes to wind, you need to pay attention to the wind up in your corner. So this should be just under your minimap. You will see the direction of the wind. Now if you haven't really looked at this before, it can go any direction at any time, and it can also change quite rapidly. If you are going in a headwind, it will be very slow. If you're going straight in a side wind, you will be going sideways. Do be careful with that. And if you're going in a backwind, which it means that you have the wind in your back, you will go a lot faster. It's always good to try to go with the wind to get the best speed, and it's also easier to steer your boat. Now if you have killed Mordor, the boss, that means that you have her power. Her power is actually to give you backwind in any circumstance. So you have 5 minutes of the best wind you could possibly have. So if you've taken down Mordor and you're going out on a lengthy sea voyage, I would recommend taking her power. Now let's talk about the respective boats. This is a Raft. You can make it very early in the game. You need 20 wood, 6 leather scraps and 6 resin to make this boat. The problem is that actually there is many problems with this one, and I tend to never use it. It has a low sailing speed and travel at about 1.7 to 2.2 meters per second on half sails, and 2.2 to 3.1 meters with full sails. Now if you put these numbers together, this is quite interesting. So if you look at this right here, you can see that it has definitely the lowest speed. It is also the most difficult to maneuver. If you're just going up a stream, this will be absolutely fine. If you're going on a lengthy sea voyage, on the other hand, it is definitely not suitable and I would not recommend it. The Raft has 300 HP. It is 6 by 4 meters long and wide, and technically 8 meters high above the water. Now it has 0 storage slots and it has no seats, so you can sit safely, but you should be able to hold on to the mast if you would like to. I find this kind of silly. Really early in the game you shouldn't really need to go out, other than if you're trapped on a very small island, but in general I just don't recommend the Raft because it is kind of terrifying, it is kind of slow, and it is definitely not easy to maneuver. Our next boat is the Carve. It is definitely better than the Raft, but not as excessive as the longship. The crafting materials for the Carve is 30 fine wood, 10 deer hide, 20 resin and 80 bronze nails. This means that you will have to have been in the Black Forest to be able to use the Carve, or to actually make the Carve. This also generally means that you will need to have taken down the first boss Egtur to be able to mine bronze. actually mine tin and copper to make bronze. Compared to the Raft, this one has like a medium sailing speed. It goes up from 3.9 to 7 with full sails. It has a small amount of storage and it has a much better maneuverability. While the Raft only has 300 HP, the Carve has 500, so it can take a little bit more damage if you crash into things or if you're getting damaged by, well, mobs in general. This is kind of handy because it is much easier to go, but if you need to go with a lengthy sea voyage, but it's still not the best to use if you're going very, very far or in really bad weather. This boat is 10 meters long, 3 meters wide and 8 meters high. It has 2 seats at the front there, plus the rudder seat. And then you have some storage at the bottom here. You have 4 slots for storage. Now this isn't a lot, but if it is your first time going, for example, to get ores and metals, this is better than nothing because you likely won't have a mega inuit to help you with weight yet, so you don't have to run as far. This boat has a 20-meter turning circle on top speed with a full sail, which is pretty good. It is obviously a smaller turning circle than the longship, which does help. Overall, I actually think the Carve is the best choice, especially if you are a solo player. Yes, it can get damaged on lengthy sea voyages, but it is much easier to steer than our next candidate, the longship. The longship is by far the best, the largest and the quickest boat. The thing is with this one that although it has a high amount of storage, it has a lot of speed. It's actually almost faster than the Carve even on half sails. It has quite poor maneuverability. When you're going fast, this boat is great. If you're going slow, it's quite difficult to deal with, especially in narrow river outlets, and it's also much deeper, which means that it will touch the floor or the ground underneath really quickly. To make the longship, you need 100 iron nails, 10 deer hide, 40 fine wood and 40 ancient bark, which means that you will have to have ventured into the swamp to make this boat. This makes it quite annoying because when you're going to the swamp, it's kind of when you want a longship to stuff it full of iron, but you know, this is just how the game works. The longship has 1000 HP, it is 22 meters long, 8 meters wide and 12 meters high. It has 4 seats, there's 2 here and 2 at the front, along with the one for the rudder. This boat has 18 cargo slots, which is quite handy. You can fill it quite full, but please remember that it can make it slower when you're going. Cargo weight doesn't seem to affect handling or speed, but it does ride slightly lower, and even though it's not supposed to, I feel like it does. If it's completely full with metal, it does handle slightly differently. I'm trying to finish this up before it actually gets dark, because this took a bit longer than I thought. A couple of other helpful tips is you cannot build any structures on any boats. I think this is kind of annoying. I wish I could have built some storage chests or maybe a workbench or a forge to repair stuff when you're far away from home, but this is not possible. To build boats, you will need to have a workbench nearby. Now, this is also a little bit of an annoyance because it can be really difficult to place a workbench close enough, but as long as the boat is within the range of the workbench, you're absolutely fine to put it down. If you are encumbered and you're really heavy, you will not be able to interact with the rudder, but you can stand on a boat while another person is piloting. This doesn't really help if you are a solo player like me. So if you are encumbered, you can't actually use the boat. You can stand on it, but you can't do anything else. If you're 2 people or more, this is quite handy because you can stuff the boat full, you can stuff your inventory full, and just stand there while someone else does the ruddering. When it comes to sailing, boats will continue to go forward if the sails are up and there is at least one player on the deck of the boat. That doesn't mean that you have to interact with the rudder. If you're just running around on the boat and the sail is up, it will continue going forwards or backwards if that was what you did before. This does also mean that if you jump off, meaning there are no players on the boat, it will immediately stop no matter which direction it was going. Now, sometimes it can feel like it's still going, but this is just how the boat is moving in the water. As you can see right now, it kind of feels like all the boats are moving slightly forward or backwards, but they are not. The last tip I have for you, which definitely took me by surprise a couple of times, is that even though you are in range of a workbench, you cannot just destroy your boat. So if I take out my hammer and I mark my boat, I'm pressing the button that's supposed to destroy things. It's not working. You need to actually take your axe out or any other weapon and start hitting your boat. Now this can be a little bit difficult if it is deep, and there's one thing I want you to remember that burned me a few times. If you destroy your boat, it takes about a minute. Everything will float except for the nails. This means that if you haven't taken your boat all the way up to the shore so that it is slightly overlapping the shoreline, you could risk losing your nails. Now I think out of everything, the resin does float, I think the hide floats, but I can guarantee that the bronze and the iron nails do not float. If they go down quite deep, you will not be able to retrieve them, so please be sure that it's not too deep underneath the boat when you're taking it apart. You can put it up anywhere you like, as long as there is water nearby, and you can put it on land as well, but it's going to damage the boat and it's going to make it very difficult to go boating. But please don't lose your nails. This is very irritating when it happens to you because it costs a lot of resources, especially for someone like me who plays with regular resources. I have to go get more iron or more bronze to make more nails. That was my top tip of the day. This has bitten me in the bum a couple of times and I really hope that it won't do the same to you. Now, thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Drop me a comment down below if you thought this was useful or if you have any other Valheim boat related top tips. I would love to hear them. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye!